Why the F should you care what Blast actually is? The thing is that crypto has $1 billion question. What will be a winning layer 2 on Ethereum of this cycle? Sucking up 99% of all the liquidity of layer 2s and Ethereum. If you actually can find out the answer before everyone else and position yourself early, you can establish a financial future for the grandkids of your grandkids. And that's why I'm talking about Blast to you today. Hi, my name is Stan. I made multiple 7 figures this cycle already, and today prepare to hear nothing but the truth. Let's actually dive in right away. We will start with the quote of the founder of Blast. In crypto, when something really works, it grows very quickly. Pac-Man, founder of Blur and Blast. And as we can see, the total value locked of Blast is top 6 at this stage. More than base chain that was pushed in your throats by all these scam influencers with a bunch of scams on it. An absolutely organic achievement without any marketing for Blast. You still might ask, why should I care? Who is actually farming Blast at this stage? What we see here, activity, Ansem. Ansem is farming Blast is top 4 at this stage, and all the guys. And do you think they're not buying meme coins on Blast currently to shield them into the throats of the followers? A bit later, closer to the airdrop, you think it's not happening currently? You think they're not positioning themselves at this stage? Of course not. Stay on Solana, stay in Ordinals, stay on base, right? Nothing is happening here. It's nothing to look for here, right? One of the interesting things to why Blast actually caught my eye in the first place is because they actually raised only $20 million. And I'm in the software business for 6 years. My company is developing software for the city of New York. I know this software game and the fundraising game very, very well as well. And most layer 2s that we have on the market currently, they raised hundreds of millions of dollars, 300, 700 million and things like that. In reality, you don't need this type of money to actually develop these layer 2s, because even Blast and others, they are based on some existing technologies. Blast is based on Optimism tech stack in the first place. Same as your scammy Bitcoin layer 2s, they're just based on existing technologies. It's not that hard to actually onboard and start working on them. Therefore, I don't think you actually need this amount of funds. The only reason why you actually want to have this amount of funds is that 90%, 85% of funds in these type of raises, they're usually spent on marketing activities. And in crypto, they're spent on getting retail into the slaughterhouse so they can dump savagely on retail using the Ethereum Layer 2s as honeypots. And the fact that Blast only raised 20 million, it's very, very interesting. It shows me that they know what the fuck they're doing, they have a plan, they don't want to share a lot with the VCs, and they probably either have marketing strategy in place that they're going to use. They're the best in the market in actually using and implementing the marketing strategy that they showed with Blur already. Or they're planning to fundraise for marketing moving forward. I don't think so, because Chain just launched like 2 months ago. It's already top 6 by total value locked. It's so crazy. The information I'm going to share to you in this video is so crazy. This will be aging so fucking well. Moving forward, how money are generated in the markets. By products and services. A small lecture, so you will fucking understand how the market structure works. Where the money are made on the market. Where there are market inefficiencies. If market is 100% efficient, there is no profit or loss for anyone. It's efficient. Reason market makers are making money is because they're making the market more efficient and they're getting their share from the market for making the market more efficient. Solving market inefficiencies is what providing value, e.g. generates value and assets appreciation in the market, not new technological pombo-wombo that zero people care about except VCs that want to dump on retail, selling them the new technology that has zero market fit, no one needs and is not done. And obviously influencers that VCs bought, they also seem to care about these pombo-wombo technologies, right? For some reason. It's a financial market, financialized, highly financialized market according to Pac-Man, who is the founder of Blur and Blast. If technology solves market inefficiency, it generates outputs. If If not, it's just pump and dump and you're being used as exit liquidity. As utility of influencers in the market is to create exit liquidity. Learn your fucking market structure. Why there are different players on the market and what are they doing in the market. Utility of most of the influencers is to create exit liquidity. Utility of market makers is to actually make the market more efficient. That's why they're making shitloads of money, right? What Blast actually is and where incentives on Blast are coming from, because Blast, as the previous product of the founder Blur, they're quite famous for the incentives. It's very fucking important to understand where the incentives are actually coming from, because you need to understand, is this just a fugazi and you're actually part of a fucking Ponzi and incentives are coming just from you people joining and nothing is happening? Or is there actually something that generates market efficiencies, that actually generates value on the market? And that's where incentives are actually coming from. Blast is an Ethereum Layer 2 solution based on OP tech stack, Optimism tech stack. You don't give a fuck anyway. Blur case. Each and every user is a market maker. I will share a bit on it later and I will explain everything to you. If you don't understand any parts of the video, just make sure to add it to your watch later and rewatch. I will explain everything to you. Blast incentives, similar model plus native yield from TVL. So what we have in Blur case, and this is something that Pacman is sharing in his interviews, is that any type of exchange, any type of NFT marketplace, they kind of work in a similar way, where they're either hiring market makers or are market making themselves, which is quite controversial in the first place, to essentially provide market efficiencies. What Pacman and his team actually figure out on Blur, they created an internal system to provide points to people who are actually participating in market making for the system. Therefore, they are essentially shifting the role of the market makers from the market makers to the users of the platform. And all this value that is actually generated by market makers to making the market more efficient is being transferred to the users. And users are now market makers. Therefore, that's why they're receiving this value, because they're solving market inefficiencies. They're creating additional value, and that's why they're making fucking money for it. You need to understand these things. You need to understand that you are not the part of the Ponzi, as most of the projects unfortunately out there are. Blast incentives, similar model plus native yield from TVL. I would say that the main part is native yield. The fact that they are also giving back 100% of fees back to the developers on the platform. It's so fucking crazy. It's so fucking smart in terms of implementation of this native yield, because they're enabling new business models on chain that were not able to be enabled by anyone yet. And Blast only became possible following Ethereum Shanghai upgrade. It's a new great piece of technology. Quick summary from the main star of this cycle. I'm telling this to you now, but this guy will be the main star of this fucking cycle.
The L2 that provides the most value to developers and users. The most value of any L2. That's our goal. And we see the path to getting there is, you have this L2 with native yield where everyone's just earning that by default, but also now you're enabling new types of applications. Robinhood, for example, right? Like them charging, zero fees, that's actually providing more value to the market than if they had charged no fees. So it's like these business model unlocks. It's not just like, oh, it's a new business model. It's like, no, this is actually providing more value to the market. This is why these like disruptive business models get adopted in the first place. So the only thing driving us is that we want to build the L2 that provides the most value to end users and developers.
You might say, Stan, but this is just a general overview. He said that he wants to provide the most value. So like how you actually translate it to make any fucking sense? Let me explain this to you. Because the main thing is actually TVL. And the main thing is actually yield on this TVL. And the main thing is the fact that this yield is actually achieved on the chain. So you just have to transfer your Ethereum or your stable coins and you would be receiving 4% native yield for Ethereum and 5% yield for stable coins in the first place. And you might ask, but Stan, I have the same type of thing if I would actually put this into some type of protocol. That's the exact same thing. Yes, you would be alright, but they actually done implementation on Ethereum and MakerDAO and some other real world assets protocols to be able to provide this yield. And the main thing, the main feature of the chain is the fact that it's natively on chain. You don't have to do anything and you can build functionalities on top of it. Understanding that you have native yield by default. Let me fucking show you the example. So let's say we have some type of DeFi protocol. It has $100 million in treasury, right? And they're receiving 4% yield. Essentially, treasury is in Ethereum. They're making $4 million a year by just holding their assets on Blast, by just receiving this native yield in the first place. These type of money are enough to actually pay for the teams, pay for all the fucking things that you actually need to have to actually be able to run this protocol in the first place. And why it's interesting and why it's unique in the first place, because obviously you can bridge your asset into some type of like MakerDAO and some other things. You can do it yourself and essentially be receiving the same type of yield, right? The interesting fact is you actually don't need to do anything to receive this type of yield in the first place. So maybe if you want to add a bit more risk, you would want to get some of this treasury and put it somewhere else and receive even larger yield with obviously additional risks to yourself as well. And the beauty of this thing is that it allows for new business models, because if you actually have a chain that provides you 4 to 5% of native yield on your treasury plus 100% of fees are actually coming back to the developers of these dApps, you can be creating products that does not require commissions in the first place. You can actually build things that are very close from the user experience point of view to Web2 type of products. Pac-Man is sharing case of Robinhood a lot, and the reason they actually revolutionized the industry is because they were able to come up with the setup where activity of the market makers would essentially be paying for the fees on the platform. Therefore, it became way cheap for retail to actually participate in this type of thing, and it caused the mass adoption as well. And something like Robinhood can actually be developed on Blast at this stage. We need to understand the power of native yield. None of the chains actually have that. There is a reason it's structured this way, because it actually was enabled with recent update on Ethereum. And the fact that 100% of these are actually coming back to dApp developers. I will actually tell you a bit more about this later in this video, because there is a fucking reason that Amazon and Apple are trillion-dollar companies, and I will tell you why. Robinhood business model, we went through it, possible on Blast, as many other things actually possible. Gamifying Blast currently is already crazy, and as you know, as I was saying to you, I think that best gamify project of this cycle is not going to be about games, not going to be about graphic, about gameplay, it's going to be about best Ponzi. There is a high chance that this best Ponzi will be happening on Blast. 100 billion treasury of a DeFi protocol is natively retaining yield in safe way. Why actually this 4 to 5% yield is safe in the first place? Is because safe yield rate with the US bonds in the US is between 4 and 5% as well. So it's not like Luna. It's actually sustainable, and it's based on real-world assets and on Ethereum staking as well. Moving forward, democratizing market maker and founders' vision. Crucial part to understand where the value is coming from and what the logic behind it. Users are market makers. So we will go a bit deeper into how Blur was set up in the first place and what type of connections this type of thought process actually have with Blast, because we need to understand where the team is coming from. You need to have conviction if you actually want to do some proper bets in this market, if you actually want to hold, and holding is what providing the highest ROI in this market.
It's kind of like your users are your market makers.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the users.
Something I told you already, right?
Hey, here's how much value your contribution is producing. And then in that way, we can actually kind of distribute the value of that market structure to the users in a fair way, effectively.
The point system that Blur actually introduced, that was adopted by a range of projects, that is adopted by Blast as well. They have internal system to understand how much your contribution actually incentivizing the system, and based on the amount of points, based on this formula, based on your actions, they're actually incentivizing you. But these things, they're not coming from Ponzi, they're not coming from new people just joining the chain and that's why you're receiving your rewards. It's not a Ponzi in the first place. It's actually coming from solving market inefficiencies. It's more in the Blur case. In Blast case, it's more coming from native yield, plus the fact that 100% of transaction fees is actually coming back to dApp developers. If you're a blockchain engineer with your own project, would you want to develop on the chain with a large TVL? And TVL will only be increasing because people are getting safe native yield, and with 100% of fees being distributed back to you. Can you tell me the better structure to take the market share in the market currently that you know of? I don't know of one. And just listen to this. This is what I like the most, because this guy understands what the deal is. This guy understands what is his goal and where he is going.
How do you see the layer 2 landscape play out? Are we going to see maybe hundreds of layer 2s, maybe only a handful of them dominate?
Yeah, I basically expect layer 2s to develop in a similar manner to layer 1s, and that you have, I guess maybe technically there might be hundreds of layer 1s, but really there's only like 3 that are relevant, right? There's Bitcoin and there's Ethereum and there's Solana. And actually there's kind of this like exponential drop off each time where like, Ethereum's like 2 to 3x smaller than Bitcoin, and Solana is like 2 to 5x smaller than Ethereum. And then beyond that, it's like there's kind of like nothing that's like particularly relevant. I think the reason why that happens is just because, especially in financialized markets, there is like a tendency for power laws to emerge and just like concentration, especially just for liquidity. Splitting up your liquidity amongst like hundreds of layer 2s just like doesn't really make sense, similar to splitting up your liquidity across like hundreds of layer 1s. So I would expect that the end market structure for layer 2s to basically be, you have like 1 to 5 relevant ones, but it's really just going to be like there's going to be one primary one and then a second one and then a third one, and maybe they have some differentiation amongst them, which is why they all kind of exist separately. But I would expect it to have this sort of like power law outcome.
There will be only one sucking up 99% of the liquidity. This guy gets it. And what is the layer 2? What is the better layer 2 that actually provides you with native yield 4 to 5% in a safe way? And you can, if you want to participate in Ponzi's, you are free to do that. Even on Blast chain, there are a bunch of them, but it's the safe by default. What is better for the developers to actually get 100% of fees generated on layer 2 back into their own pockets? Do you think that developers would actually be developing products there and incentivizing people to actually use it? And what is better, that a system that actually incentivizes loyalty and people using the system in the first place, so you are getting value for this as well? Do you understand what the fuck is happening right now? It's not everything. It's just crazy. It's crazy to be exposed to it currently. Like this video, subscribe to this fucking channel. Pac-Man understands the winner takes it all. He's betting on it and working towards it. Yield, native yield, 100% of gas revenue redistributed back to the devs. There is a reason Apple and Amazon are trillion-dollar companies, which is they create ecosystems where other people can be making money as well. That's why I'm saying that VCs of this cycle, they're fucking stupid. In the first place, because they were not able to project that they will just have too much tokens and they will just have too many pussycats VCs actually dumping their tokens because they just have too much of them, right? And secondly, the reason they're stupid in the first place is because they're not allowing to make money for other people in the ecosystem. They're selling these allocations to each other. They are given very, very small chance to actually make some money to simple small men like you and me. This is why they're fucking stupid in the first place. Trillion-dollar companies like Apple and Amazon, their ecosystem in the first place, they're allowing other people to actually make money on their ecosystem. This is why we actually have this flourishing of creator economy, because these platforms, they are providing options to people to actually make money through them. And that's why they're valued at the valuations that they're valued on. Because you are betting on the ecosystem that is providing value to other people, and other people are providing value back to your ecosystem. Take care about your employees, and your employees will take care of your clients. This is the first thing in any fucking business that you're actually running. It's crazy fucking good from my point of view, following all the things that I'm actually seeing, researching, and learning at this stage. And one thing you might ask, is Blast actually Memecoin friendly, right? Let's hear what the founder of the chain has to say on it. Let me fucking know the founder of any fucking chain who is speaking on the meme coins in his interviews, right? And they have like 1K views. So crazy to me. Like the upside is so large. You cannot fucking fathom the upside at this stage.
To us, the best way to accomplish that was to target the degens.
I'm really surprised that meme coins didn't really take off on Blast. Like 2 months ago, I put out a tweet and I said, I can see Blast really dominating the front page of Dex Screener. And that didn't happen. And what happened was Base was the one where the meme coins took off among the layer 2s, of course, after Solana. What happened there?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's a few aspects of this. One is the thing that I've noticed, especially about chains, it's very hard to predict the trajectory of things, right? Like even Solana, it was like all the rage for a period, and then it was like dead for a period. where like nothing was working on the chain, like VCs were investing, like none of the tokens were popping off. And then Solana Moon, and then suddenly like everything was working on the chain again. And, you know, after everyone had written it off, even Base kind of had this trajectory where it was like really crushing it early on and then bald rugged. And then that kind of just like took a lot of the steam out. And even Friendtech kind of like died out as well. And there was like nothing on it for a bit. And then I think recently with like Barcaster and Degen, then it like popped off again. So a lot of this stuff is, I think, is like very, very hard to predict. But one of the things that I think contributed to the current state on Blast is actually the incentive system actually provides a headwind.
The guy is clearly following the meme coin space and understands what the fuck is happening on the market.
Or assets on Blast, because the way the current system is set up is that you earn points for holding ETH and USD, and you can also earn gold for using dApps. But as soon as you hold any other asset, right, whether it's like a meme coin or a governance token or literally anything else, you're no longer earning anything. And so it actually disincentivizes that behavior. This is one of the interesting things about designing any incentive system, is that the emergent behaviors, especially if it's something that's complex, right? If it's like a simple product, you don't really have to worry about these things. But if it's something that's complex, like as complex as like incubating a new layer, there's all these like emergent behaviors that can come out from the incentive system that you then have to like think through and solve. So I think currently that's something that is actually basically like artificially holding back the token economy on Blast, because if you look at Blast, it's like there's like $2.5 billion of liquidity on it, with like the most active on-chain user base that kind of like exists in the space, or at least like in like Ethereum land. So it's like, it's kind of like the gunpowder is there and like the match is there, but it's just like the fire is kind of being put out, I think, artificially because of disincentive that currently exists. That is something that like we are actively working to solve. And we have like literally just yesterday, we have a mechanism that we are like very excited about. I can't really touch on it right now, but basically just what I can touch on is the current problem, which is there is that headwind effect.
That's very interesting.
The founder of the fucking chain is actively working on enabling the fucking meme coin season on chain. Do you hear what I hear? Are we living in the fucking simulation? They changed it already. Like right now, I actually put my ND on Blast on the deck in Jackpot, and I am earning points and I am earning Blast gold as well. And I believe the further we go, the better the situation will essentially be with these things. And last but not least, what actually market makers that understand Blast, I think the best, understand Blur the best, understand market inefficiency, they understand how much money is actually in this market in the first place. In a way, what Pacman is doing is he's taking bread out of the mouths of the market makers. So they understand very, very well what is happening. They understand how much money is in the market. What the market maker behind Bonk and specifically meme coins on Blast and the meme season. Let's actually take a look, just a small look, right? Quite a lot as well. And me personally, I do like meme coins too. What do you think about the narrative of meme coins in crypto?
I think that next chain, which will be famous for meme coins, can become Blast, actually. Blast can become really famous for meme coins. They launch in mainnet very soon. Probably mainnet will be live after this video will go out. And let's see if you're now watching it and there are a few famous meme coins on Blast. First, probably there are Godbit clients. And second, probably I was right.
The interview came out 2 months ago. We just heard the explanation from Pacman himself why he thinks that meme season did not start at that time. We do expect a fucking meme season on Blast to start currently because of the change in the incentives and because of the additional liquidity flow and because the team of the chain is working to enable meme season on the chain. They understand what is happening. They understand how the market works. And Pacman is saying to you himself that Blast has the most active on-chain users with liquidity currently, because following his other interviews, he's saying that the goal in the first place is to create a great product with high usability for people who are on chain, who are trading on chain, who want to use dApps, who want to use Gamify, who want to use and trade meme coins as well. Last but not least, going into conclusions. Do you actually fucking need any conclusions? Did you just hear everything I have to say? Do you actually share my conviction? Let me sum up the whole thing. Why I think that Blast actually will be winning the race of Ethereum Layer-2s. Because it's structured in the first place to actually be able to do that. I honestly believe that a bunch of TVL from Ethereum will be bridged to Blast eventually as well, because of the native yield, because of 100% transaction fees shared back to the developers, because of the incentives, because they actually use the users to solve market inefficiencies and they incentivize people to do that, because people like Ansem are farming Blast as well, and they are buying Blast meme coins currently. They are buying Blast meme coins in order to actually start a meme coin season on Blast. The team of the chain is working actively to solve meme coin issue and actually start a meme coin season on chain on Blast. And last but not least, something that a lot of you might not understand, but the fact that they only raised $20 million in the first place, it's so fucking bullish. It means it's not a fucking honeypot for VCs. It means it's not it. It means they're actually confident they will be able to attract liquidity and users without spending hundreds of millions of marketing, because they know that their product is not a piece of shit. They know that their product is not worthless, as most of the other layer 2s on chain. These are on-chain people in the first place, coming to you with the previous experience of disrupting the marketplace. With the airdrop happening these months as well, with all your largest accounts farming these airdrops who are specifically focused on meme coin game in the first place. We are at the last several days before this thing just pops up like crazy, because we are going to fucking $80,000 this month on Bitcoin. You cannot fathom what is happening. You know my picks, you know what I'm holding fucking Andy on Blast. We are going to fucking Valhalla. I do think it's 100x from the current levels. Thank you very much for watching this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to actually check out my full thesis on Andy on Blast, something that no one is fucking doing on this marketplace, feel free to check out this video. I will be seeing you tomorrow. Bye bye.